So welcome to our therapeutic class this morning. Our theme this week is around the breath, and what I really want to do, there's so many ways of working with the breath, and the breath is this amazing thing that we can do with our conscious control, but we're also always breathing, whether we're conscious of it or not. But we can use our conscious control of the breath, or conscious awareness of the breath, to create specific effects for our body, for our nervous system. But we're going to look at three really specific ways of working with the breath today that are super simple. They're safe for everyone to do, and they can have a really centering, relaxing sort of bringing you back to a place of grounding kind of effect. Now, that said, breath techniques work differently for different people depending on where we're at, how we're feeling, what we've eaten, how we slept, all of that stuff. And so when we're working with the breath, the most important thing is that you're really listening to your body. And just because I might suggest that there's a particular impact from a breath technique does not necessarily mean that that is going to happen for you. Just give me 1 second here. All right. So I'll quickly explain the three different breath techniques that we'll work with, and then we can go into working with them. So the first one is super simple. You do it probably every day, maybe lots these days, but it's yawning. And yawning is an automatic reflex of the body. We can also actually trigger a yawn just by kind of going through the motions. And I've been aware of how important yawning is sort of for the whole body, the stretch, the release. And I was reading a book over the weekend called Just Breathe, and he's got a whole section on yawning. And I was like, yes! And this is what I'm teaching this week. So the body stretches and the mouth releases. We have all kinds of nerves in the jaw, and we get this big, beautiful full body release with a yawn. And if you look at animals, animals are yawning all the time. People tend to squelch our yawns. We tend to go, oh, I don't want to show someone I'm yawning. And this happens in yoga class all the time. When people get relaxed, they yawn, and I see it as a really good sign, but people are embarrassed and they try to hide it. So today, yawn away. And the author of the book, Dan Brule, I think his name is, said, like, yawn until your eyes water. When your eyes water, you know you really got the yawn. So I invite you to even just give that a try right now. Just open your mouth. Stretch your body. And just see how it feels. A fake yawn is just as good as a real yawn, but a real yawn has a very certain satisfying kind of feeling to it. So yeah, so we'll work that in as we go through the class. And the second breath awareness that we'll do is breath technique is actually just breath awareness, being aware of the breath. So it's just bringing the mind back to the moment by being aware of the breath. And then the third breath technique we'll do is equal inhale, equal exhale. And you can do that at any ratio that works for you. So another kind of balancing, centering kind of breath. So we'll come to sit. If you're not already, you probably are. And we'll get going. So in your comfortable seated position, whether you're on the chair or the floor, is fine. Just take a moment to feel your body. So notice where you feel pressure, where you're sitting. Maybe notice your hands resting on your thighs or your lap. Maybe look around the room. What are you aware of as you look around the room? Maybe noticing colors or textures, light and dark, shadows, rainbows, whatever you see in your environment. And just coming into this space of being present as possible. Right, so as we start today, I'm going to invite you, if you like, you can close your eyes. If you like to keep them open, that's totally fine too. And I invite you to simply notice that you're breathing. There's absolutely nothing that you need to do. Notice the fullness of the inhale, where you feel the breath moving in your body. Notice the softening as you exhale, letting the breath go. And simply notice the breath. Where do you feel it in your body? Can you feel it in the belly, the chest? Maybe you don't feel much movement of the breath at all. Notice that. There's no need to change anything. So you're simply noticing your breathing, where you feel the breath. You might notice the passage of air through your nostrils, down through your throat, into your chest, maybe belly as well, and then back out. And I should say, because this question comes up a lot with breathing, is that we're as much as possible breathing through the nose. And if you're a mouth breather and you find it difficult to breathe through the nose, I encourage you to try, at least for this couple of minutes that we're doing some breath awareness here. If your nostrils are blocked, obviously you have to breathe through your mouth. A few more breaths, noticing where you feel the breath. Great, and now letting that go, and we're going to do a big yawn and stretch to release from that technique. Stretching up and releasing down. Good. And you've probably noticed this phenomenon that when you yawn, it's often contagious. When someone else yawns, you yawn. And that works even on the screen or the TV or whatever. So yawns are contagious. And it's because we want to come into this place of release and letting go. We see someone else do it and we're like, yes, that would feel good. And our body just naturally goes there. But as I mentioned earlier, we tend to stifle and feel embarrassed about our yawns, like we're bored or something like that. But a yawn is so natural and it's so good for us. So let's try it again. You're gonna open your mouth, look at your jaw a bit, lift your arms, and just notice how that feels. And take a couple of breaths again. Now coming back to simply noticing that you're breathing. Yawning kind of stretches the muscles all around the breath. And so sometimes after a yawn, we naturally get a little bit deeper, fuller breath. So just notice what is true for you. And if you feel a natural yawn, let it rip. Don't hold back. All right, so we'll get into a little bit of movement now, and then we'll come back to the other technique that I mentioned that we'll look at today. So you can have your feet about hip distance apart. If you're sitting cross-legged, that's fine. Just hands on the thighs or knees is great. And we'll lift the chest, draw the shoulders back, breathing in, and then exhale to round the back. Now, if coordinating the breath isn't the right pace for you, you can always move and breathe freely or adjust your pace to suit your breath. So inhaling, arching, exhaling, rounding. And if it feels right for you, next time you arch the back, you could also lift the arms. And then as you round the back, the hands come back to the thighs. So lifting and lowering a couple more times. And make this your last one. And as the hands come down to the thighs, you can simply raise your spine to an erect position again. Then we'll take the arms up to the sides. This time you can keep a little bend in your elbows and let the elbows rest a little lower than the shoulders. And then draw the elbows back. Big breath in. And then as you come across, bring your hands across your chest, hands to the shoulders, let the head come down, shoulders relax. Opening with the breath in. We'll bring the other arm on top this time. Exhaling as you come across. Again, breath cues are suggestions, not mandatory. So you can always breathe and move in a way that feels right for you. So you're opening and closing, alternating which arm is on top. And if you're coordinating the breath, really feeling that expansion as you open the arms. Good. And almost a little squeezing out as you come across. Good. Make this your last one. Right. And then opening to the sides. And we'll release the arms back down onto the thighs. From here, you can take the feet a little bit wider as we start to bring some circles into the torso. I really encourage you to move slowly and really feel the nuances of this movement. So there's certain places where I'm in this circle where I feel a lot of sensation, a little bit of stretch, and then other parts where it just feels really smooth and easy. So notice for you, do you have a similar or a different experience with this? At some point, try going the other way, switching directions. Make sure you're breathing. There's no specific pattern to breathe here, but do make sure you're breathing. We do tend to hold our breath when we're thinking about something or learning something or doing something a little bit different. And one of the things that conscious breathing does is remind us to check in and notice the breath. So let's come back for a moment now. You can bring your feet in a little bit or wherever they're comfortable. Pause for just a moment, and you can close your eyes if you like, and notice your breath. Just notice that you're breathing. You might feel some little more spaciousness perhaps from the stretching, but you may not, and that's okay too. Right, and again, let's switch gears by taking a big yawn, so lifting your arms. Taking that nice big yawn. And if that triggers more yawns, just keep yawning. Right? You can't do anything better today than yawn in this class. So keep that energy and keep that breath moving. All right, let's do a little bit of a side bend now. So opening the sides of the body a bit. And if you like, you can take your feet again a little bit wider for this one. And that's especially if you're on a chair. If you're on the floor, you're fine. On a chair, you want to make sure that you don't fall off. So you can bring one hand to the seat of your chair, and you can even use that hand to help lift you up tall. And then raising the other arm, reaching up, and then a little bit over. So it's mostly up and a little over, and then come back to center. If you need to lower the arm to release the shoulder, that's fine. And we'll do the same thing, lifting up and a little bit over. So you can reach up, and if you like, really breathe in here as you reach. Exhale as you take it up and over, and then inhale back up. If you need to release a bit, that's fine. Exhale over. Really listen to your body, and this time, if it feels right for you, you could stay a few breaths. So again, it's not about trying to reach the floor and go as far as you can, but create some space in the long side without collapsing the shorter side. So you're still lifting. Both sit bones anchored. Breathe into that space. 2 more breaths. Right into your armpit, side ribs, side of your waist. And then release. Great. Pause for a moment here. Maybe notice, how does one side feel compared to the other? Especially in this area, under your arm, around your side ribs, into your waist. And maybe you can feel a bit more space there after stretching. Again, maybe not. So our perceptions are all a little different. And the way that we experience the stretch is all going to be a bit different. So your awareness is just that, your awareness. Let's try the other side. So hand to your chair for balance and to lift you tall, the other arm reaching up. You can breathe in here, and then as you exhale, reach a little over and lots of up, and then back up, breathing in. Exhale, reaching over. Go at your own pace. Again, coordinating the breath is always, always optional. So you can always just sway a little side to side and breathe normally. Okay. And again, if it feels right for you, you can stay. Certainly you can keep moving if that feels better. Again, you're inviting your breath to move into that long side, the armpit, the side of the ribs, the side of the waist. Notice this arm on the chair. If you're kind of locking it and bringing your shoulder up to your ear, think about bending that elbow and growing your neck long. When you're ready, back to center, releasing down. Let's bring the hands onto the thighs. Take a moment to notice, how does that side feel now? And then we'll even things up when you're ready. Coming back to that cat-cow movement for the spine. So a little lift in the heart and then a rounding of the back. Again, if you want to coordinate breathing, inhale as you lift, exhale as you round. And just as we did earlier, we're going to add in the arms now. So as you lift the spine, you're going to lift the arms, breathing in. If you're coordinating breath, and then exhale, add a forward bend now if that feels good. So you're coming up and then letting your body come forward over your legs. Beautiful. Last time, you can stay upright and release the arms down. And one more time, I invite you to tune in and notice, what do you feel now as you breathe? So we're coming back to that breath awareness, conscious breathing, a mindfulness technique to bring our attention back to the present moment. So our breath is always happening right now. See if you can tune into the nuances of your breath, the little places that it moves in your body. And take a few more breaths like this. And then one more yawn. Make all the noise you want. If you're alone in your home or wherever you are, just really let it out. Even if you're not, you don't want to scare anyone, but yeah, just let it out. The more you release your jaw, the more you really get into it, the more you're going to get the benefit of that release in your system. So now we're going to come to the third technique. So the first technique was yawning. Second technique was just paying attention to your breath as it is without any kind of altering of the breath. And now this one, we're going to do a 1-to-1 breath, which means that we're going to inhale for the same amount of time that we're exhaling. In yoga, it's called sama breath, samavriti breath. So it means the same. Sama means the same. So the same inhale, same exhale, same movement of the breath. And you can count whatever number works for you. So maybe you want to go 1, 2, inhale, 1, 2, exhale. Or maybe for you, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Could be 4, 5, 6. Depends on your breath, of course. And it depends how fast you count. So as long as it's roughly the same, inhale and exhale, then it really doesn't matter how you count or what the numbers are. But you want to aim for something sort of, really relaxed, not, you don't want to be breathing 1 second in, 1 second out. So if you can aim for 3 or 4 is a nice breath ratio or number. But if that feels like you're straining, please, please go to where it feels comfortable for you. So I'll spend a couple of minutes to establish that rhythm and to tune into that breath. And so we're just counting for ourselves. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, exhale, 1, 2, 3, whatever works for you. So when you're ready, eyes open or closed. And you can start by just trying out a few different numbers. Does 2 seconds work? Does 3? You want to always make sure it's comfortable. So this isn't about stretching the breath as long as you can, but finding a nice, even pace with the breath. And then you can gradually let go of counting and just come back to normal breathing. So counting can help to regulate the breath, to make it smooth and even and come into a flow. Usually when we're stressed, we breathe short and shallow in a choppy kind of way. So it just helps to regulate our breath and circulation. And also brings the mind a little more into focus, right? Instead of just watching the breath, now we are bringing a little bit of control to the breath. So it's always, again, a caution when we're controlling the breath that if it feels like a strain to you, then you want to go right back to where we were before, which is the conscious breathing without control of the breath. And if that even feels like too much, you can always just go back to yawning. Yawning is something natural that we do all the time, right? So, and let's sort of make that transition with a yawn. So, open your mouth. Make that yawn loud and proud. Good, and then shake it off. Right. Before we change positions, let's do a little bit for the neck, shoulders, arms, and wrists. So we'll turn the head to one side. And notice as you turn your head to the side, where does it want to stop, right? So there's a point where there's a restriction or maybe there's discomfort, and we want to stop before it's painful, of course. So noticing what tells you to stop, and then come back to the center and go to the other side. And again, notice what tells you to stop. Is it the same sensation or something different? And come back to the center. Let's lower the chin down toward the chest. And again, notice, is it your chin reaching your chest that stops the movement? Is it restriction in the back of your neck that stops the movement? Or is it something else? And slowly back to center. And so now we'll turn the head to the first side again and start to make little sweeping half circles across the front of your chest. Coming up one side, going back. And go ahead and go side to side like that a few times. Right. And then eventually let your head come back to the center. And then lifting up tall through the spine. So right from the base of your spine all the way up to the crown of your head, feeling length, and then slowly let your head release down towards one shoulder. So the ears coming toward the shoulder. And if that feels like a nice stretch to you, you can stay here for a few breaths. If not, obviously you want to come out of the stretch. If you want more, you can drop the hand down on the side away from the side that your head is tilted. If you're on the ground, you can walk your hand away on the ground a little for a bit more stretch. If you're on a chair, you might try turning your palm behind you and resting your arm behind your back. You can do this on the floor as well if you like. And just see how those changes in the arm change the experience in your neck, and then slowly release. Come back to center. Other side, so lengthen up again. Let the head release to the other side. You can dangle the opposite arm if you like. Or again, if you're on the floor, maybe walk your arm out to the side on the floor. Or bringing the arm behind the back if that's available to you. Just check in that your shoulders okay with that. Right. And then slowly back to center, releasing the arm. And we'll shrug both shoulders up. Exhale and release. Pull both shoulders down and then lift. You can inhale up and then pull down. So you're using the muscles underneath your armpits and around the sides to pull the shoulders down and then lifting up. Big breath in and release. Beautiful. A few circles for your wrists now. One way and the other, you can do this with your hands open or closed in gentle fists. See what feels better for you. Right, and then give a little shake. All right, let's come to stand up. So we're going to work on a new pose today. We haven't done this one for a while, and it's called Goddess Pose, and it's a pose that works with the legs and the hips a little bit to create strength and a little bit of flexibility. So we'll start with the feet a little bit apart, maybe at least shoulder width apart, and you can even go a little wider if that's comfortable for you. And then we're going to turn the toes out somewhere around 45 degrees. You want to think about not collapsing into your inner feet, but keeping the outer edges of your feet firmly in the ground as well. Now, as we bend the knees, you want to think about your inner thighs moving back. So you could even bring your hands to your inner thighs, right? And think about the inner thighs moving back and then lift. So there's a tendency to kind of collapse forward. It's probably easier if you're looking at the screen to see from the side. So if I'm here and I want to drop down, I'm opening my knees, keeping my body over my legs, as opposed to this kind of thing where I let the knees come in and my bum come out. So I'm trying to drop right down, keeping the knees apart. So if you've been doing that while I've been talking, your legs might be getting a little tired, so take a break as you need to. And otherwise, coming back to straight legs. And as we drop down, we'll lift the arms. So dropping down, arms lift, lifting up, arms release. You can just bend your knees a little bit, or you can bend them a lot. You want to make sure as you bend your knees, first of all, they're comfortable. Second of all, if your legs are quite close together and your knees are going way past your ankles, that can put a little bit of strain on your knees. So really check in. Right. Last one, if you can, hold for a few breaths. If your shoulders feel tired with this, draw them down, bend the elbows a little bit. Breathe, keep the knees moving back, inner thighs opening. Good. Heart lifting, tail dropping. Good, let's lift and then release. And you can bring your feet together now. Give your legs a little shake. So we're going to work with that pose off and on a little bit today. So As I said before, if it feels like a lot of work for your legs, it should. But if it's too much, you're going to just take breaks, straighten your legs whenever you need to. All right, so let's come to that position again. Again, toes turned out slightly. Weight evenly on your feet, so you're not collapsing inward and sort of becoming knock-kneed. We want the knees to move outward. All right. So now, bending down with the knees as you lift with the arms. Good, and coming back up. If you want now, you can coordinate breathing. Inhale. Exhale, be aware of your breath. Come into breath consciousness as we move. Where do you feel your breath? Doesn't matter if you're coordinating breath or not, you're still breathing. So notice. Great, and last time, if you like, you can hold for a few breaths. Try to stay with your breath. Try to stay conscious of your breath, even if it gets challenging, because this can be a bit challenging. Can you stay with the rhythm of your breath? Good. One more breath. Great, and lifting up. And we'll bring the feet in. And again, give your legs a little shake. And shake it all out, in fact. Great, so we're going to keep working with this pose. This time, I'm going to invite you, if it feels right, to come back to that measured breathing as you do the pose dynamically. So if you were doing 2, 3, 4 seconds, whatever it was, you could bring that in now. Now, it's going to be a little more challenging because the breath is a little challenged when we're working the big muscles of our bodies, so you might have to go to a smaller number. If you were at 4, you might go to 3, and 3 to 2, or that kind of movement. So see how it feels. So we'll start by bending, and you can inhale and count. Exhale and count. Your own pace, right? It does not have to be like mine. Last time, see if you can hold for a few breaths and stay with that count. Now, if you're straining, please just breathe normally, come out of the pose. This isn't about no pain, no gain, or pushing yourself, but really coming into awareness. Good, and release. Beautiful. And legs together, give them a shake. There's something you can do to work with this concept with the breath, and I've been doing it all my life kind of intuitively or just because. When I'm walking, I'm often breathing in rhythm with my walk, right? So I'm going in, 2, 3, exhale, 2, 3, as I walk. So if you want to practice that measured breathing, my brain has blanked for a second, but that breathing is the same. It's same, samavriti, inhale and exhale. You can do that as you walk. You can also do other ratios as you walk. Like you could inhale 2, exhale 4. We're not going to get into that today, but it's an interesting way of measuring the breath. You might have guessed we're coming back to goddess pose. So feet apart, toes turned out slightly. We're going to add on a little bit this time. So again, it's really a reminder, do not force or strain yourself. It's okay to have effort and to kind of dig deeper, to kind of push through some effort, but if it's a strain or painful, back off. All right, so bending the knees, lifting the arms. Good, and then coming back. So if you like, again, inhale. Exhale either with consciousness of your breath or counting the breath if you prefer. Okay, this time, option to stay. You can keep moving if you prefer. And we're going to add a side bend. Right? So inhale here. Exhale, release one arm and reach over to that side. Inhale, center. Exhale, other side. Continue at your own pace with conscious breath or counted breath. Good, last one. Come back up, both arms. Let's sink down if you can. And then lift up. And release. Beautiful. And step the feet in. Give your legs a little shake. And you might be relieved to know that we're done with goddess pose now. We'll do a few forward bends just to release any tension that we may have brought in with the effort of that pose. So again, you can take your feet a little wider if you like. And leave the toes pointing forward or feet together for the forward bend, whatever is comfortable for you. So take a breath in and reach up. Bend your knees. Exhale, you can bring your hands or your forearms to your thighs or reach toward the ground. Let your head release if that's appropriate for you. And then come on back up. So go at your own pace. If you feel at all dizzy or have any issues with pressure, blood pressure, head pressure, you're only going to go partway down, keeping your head higher than your heart at all times. If this forward bend feels good for you as a position where you might like to stay, you can go ahead and stay. Could be hands or elbows on the thighs, maybe crossing and holding your elbows while you hang, or letting the arms dangle. Right. When you're ready, we'll come all the way up, breathing in. And then exhaling to release. If your feet are apart, bring your feet in underneath you. Feel your heels go down into the earth. So we've been coming back to grounding throughout this whole session. Feel your legs strong and rooted, especially after goddess pose that gives the thighs a nice little bit of work there. Feel your shoulders drop down, heart lift, crown of the head lift. And then back down to the earth with your attention, your awareness. Feel your heels and roots go down. Great. A couple more breaths here. Conscious breathing. Notice your breathing. You're alive. Feel that in your breath. And then let's bend and straighten the legs a few times, flexing the knees, ankles, and hips. If you have a chair handy and you want to hold on to it, you can, or a wall to balance as we lift one foot. You can leave your toes on the ground too if you like. Circle the ankle. Shake the leg. And maybe see if you can shake it back behind you as well, without losing your balance. But if you do, the floor's not so far away. Just bring your foot down. Coming back to mountain pose, shift to the other side. You can lift or keep your toes on the ground as you circle your ankle. Make sure you're breathing. So when things get a little more tricky, even like slightly more tricky, we tend to hold the breath. Good, shake it out. Shake it back. And come back to mountain pose. Ah, beautiful. Let's all yawn. Make it a big one. Good. And give a little shake. All right, if you have a chair handy, it could be helpful for this next one as we work a little bit with forward bending and stretching the back of the legs. So we want to be about a foot away from your chair. We'll take a breath in and reach the arms up. And then come forward so that your shoulders are over your hands. You can move your feet so that your feet are more or less underneath your hips, shoulders over the hands. And then bend your knees a little bit and lift your tail, lift your heart. So you're coming into an arched position with your back. And then round your back. Keep your knees soft the whole time. Round your back, let your head come in. Soft knees. And then reverse. See if you can find that lift in the tail, lift in the heart. Be careful of not throwing your head back here. And then rounding your back, pressing your spine toward the ceiling. Continue at your own pace if you want to coordinate your breathing. Optional here. Inhale as you arch. And exhale as you round. Great. And then we'll come back to a neutral spine, so flat tabletop back, more or less. And your back isn't actually flat, but it's in that neighborhood. And then we'll take one foot a little closer to the chair. The other foot can step back and turn out to the side a little so that whole foot can be grounded on the ground behind you. And then keeping your spine either nice and flat or even arching a little if that's available to you, and you'll move your front leg a little more bent and a little more straight. The more you round your back, the less stretch you're going to feel in this leg. So if you feel a lot of stretch, then you're going to end up with a slightly rounder back or a more bent knee. And so I'd recommend try to keep the spine nice and long and moderate how much stretch by how bent and how straight your knee becomes. Right. After you've done this a few times, you might find that sweet spot. So last week we were kind of tuning into where is our good stretch, where do we want to kind of hang out for a bit? And you can stay there depending on how intense the stretch is for you. You might even go a little lower. Also, really depends on how tall your chair is and how tall you are, whether this is a workable, comfortable position for you. When you're ready, you can step your feet back together. Bend your knees again. Lift all the way up. And then release. Right. So let's come up again. And we'll come forward to the chair once more. You can take the other foot a little forward. So it's just by the chair, the opposite foot back. Turn out to the side like you were doing warrior. Again, check in with your spine. So can you arch, be neutral, or do you need to round a little bit to find that as much neutrality in your spine as possible? And then bending and straightening your front knee. Certainly doesn't have to be straight when you straighten it, but moving in that direction until you feel a stretch that feels good. Great, and then when you're ready, you can walk the feet back in side by side. Bend your knees, come all the way up with the breath in. And exhaling to release. So we'll come back one more time with that sort of cat-cow movement using the chair, or you can do it with your hands on your thighs, either way, to even the spine out after that asymmetrical leg stretch we just did. Spine and hips. So coming up with the breath in, and bend the knees, come forward, hands to your chair. Again, moving from neutral to a little arch. You can bend your knees a bit, and then rounding, head down. Again, moving at your own pace. Great, and then come back to neutral, bend the knees even more, and slowly lift up. Releasing your arms back down to your sides. Great, if you're using a chair, you can move it out of the way. And let's come back one more time to mountain pose, feeling your feet under you. Feeling the crown of your head lift. We're going to make our way down to the ground in a moment, but before we do that, let's just take one last standing yawn. Your head build. And then you can lift your arms up. And don't worry if it's fake or real. Sometimes a real one will come out when you make a fake one, but you're still getting that nice deep breath, so it's all good. All right, take your time, make your way down onto the ground. You're gonna come onto your back. And the invitation here is to be comfortable. So for me, that's with my knees bent. For you, it might be more comfortable, legs straight. And I'm gonna bring one hand lower and one hand higher on my torso. So one sort of near my rib cage somewhere, one near the belly somewhere. You can do the same. Try to have it so that your elbows are on the ground. So even if your hands are more to the sides, is better than having the arms lifted so there's strain in the shoulders. So really relax here. If your knees are bent, you might take your feet wider apart, let your knees fall together so there's no effort in holding your knees there. So see what feels good for you. And let's simply come back to the breath technique we used earlier, which is conscious breathing. And it's really curiosity. Where do you feel the breath? What parts of your body seem to move when you breathe? Can you feel movement under both of your hands or just one hand? Does one hand move first? Get curious in all the ways you can notice your breath right now. You can either stay with conscious breathing for another minute or two, or you can move now to that counted breath, where you're inhaling for the same count that you're exhaling for, whether that's 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, either conscious breathing or counting your breath. Inhale and exhale the same. And then whatever technique you're working with, whether just watching the breath or counting the breath, you can let that go now. And again, you can take a yawn, maybe stretch if that feels right for you. Okay, and from here, we'll just do a little bit of movement just to make sure that your body's really comfortable before Shavasana. If you know what would make your body feel best, you can just go ahead and do that. I'm going to invite you, offer the suggestion of doing a little bit of a twist and then knees to chest. But for you, if there's something else you know that works, then please follow that. So if you're following me, knees are bent, feet can be hip width apart or a little closer. And we'll let the knees go to one side, maybe turning the head the other way if that feels right for your spine. You'll come back to center and then go the other way. Follow your own rhythm. That could be following your breath, exhaling to the side, inhaling to center. Or that could be simply moving at a comfortable pace as long as you're breathing also at your own comfortable pace. And eventually, when you feel complete, come back to the center. And we really want to make sure that we don't skip this last part. After twisting, we want to really make sure that we're back in alignment through the hips and spine. So you can lift both knees up into your chest, give your back a little stretch by drawing the knees in, and then we can do a bit of movement, knees moving away and knees moving towards you. You can, again, coordinate your breath here if you like, inhaling as you go away, exhaling as you draw in. If there's other movements that would feel good to you here, feel free to explore those. So that might be a little side to side movement, a little circle, anything that would feel good. Yawning anytime the urge strikes. Have you ever had someone try to stop your yawn? And how frustrating that is when you're mid-yawn and it stops. There's something just so satisfying about letting that yawn complete. So don't stifle your yawns. Hey, when you're ready, you can release your feet to the floor. And then one more big stretch and yawn. Reaching and whatever feels good to come back to the center. So again, we're moving into Shavasana now, so you can have your knees bent or your legs straight. If you need any other props, blankets, bolsters, chairs, whatever might be helpful, make sure that you've got what you need to be comfortable. And if you prefer to practice Shavasana more as a seated meditation, you're welcome to come to sit. So finding that comfortable position, making your adjustments as necessary to allow your body to fully be supported. And then once you find your way to that position where you feel you can rest and drop in a little bit deeper, you can come back to conscious breathing, simply noticing that you're breathing, watching the breath come and go. And as you breathe consciously, feel your body where it makes contact with the earth. You might focus just a little more attention on your exhalation now. So as you bring awareness to your body on the ground and you exhale, feel your body soften and melt. Softening tension, letting go of holding. Exhale, sink down a little more. Relax your jaw, your face, all the muscles around your face, head, jaw, throat, and neck. Let your shoulders soften and your arms release. Let the breath simply move through you now. Don't try to control it with any counting. Let it go completely. You can keep your attention gently on the breath while you also relax your body. No need to control or change a thing. Arms and hands let go. Chest and belly soft, gently rising and falling with your breath as they naturally do. Nothing you need to do to make that happen. Exhaling, drop down even more, sinking down into the earth. Let the pelvis release all the muscles around your buttocks and hips, pelvic floor. Let your thighs, knees, and calves soften. Your ankles and feet let go. You can either stay with conscious breathing now, or if this image makes sense to your body, you might imagine breathing in and sending your breath to your fingers and toes, to the top of your head. And as you exhale, softening and relaxing even more. So it's like we're imagining filling the body with breath on the inhale, the whole body. And then imagine the whole body deflating and softening with your exhale. So either just conscious breathing, noticing the breath as it is, or using this visualization to fill the body with breath and soften and relax with each exhalation. And as you breathe in this way, I'll share with you one of the sutras that talks about the effects of the breath, and I'll share the meaning after with you. Tata kshiyate prakashavaranam. Tata kshiyate prakashavaranam. Tata kshiyate prakashavaranam. Tata kshiyate prakashavaranam. you're ready, you could start to deepen your breath a little, just taking slightly deeper, fuller breaths. And if you prefer to rest a little longer, you can ignore that instruction and simply breathe consciously and stay where you are. And if you're ready to move, to get on with your day, you can stretch and yawn and move your body in whatever way would feel delicious and good right now. Yawning, stretching, moving, shaking, whatever feels good to you. Take your time. And whenever you feel ready, if you're lying down, you can gradually roll to one side. Take your time to come slowly, slowly back upright. And then if you've come upright, I invite you to take your hands one over the other onto the area around the center of your chest. This is where your lungs and heart are, in this upper chest area. And I'd like to share with you the meaning of the chant that I repeated a few times for you today. It comes from the book of Yoga Sutras, and the meaning is that when you've practiced pranayama or breath awareness, breath techniques, and you do it diligently over some time, a few minutes a day is great to start, that what happens is that over time, our perception grows. And the sutra actually says that over time, what happens is the veils that cover our inner light open, or it's like we have curtains over our inner light and they start to open and we see the world from this more open, more illuminated position. So starting with the hands on the heart, and I'm going to invite you today as I repeat the sutra, thinking to yourself what it might feel like to reveal a little bit of your own inner light, to allow a little bit of your own inner light to shine today. And as I chant, you can open your arms wide to signify that movement of the veils or the curtains that hide your light. So, Tataha Kshiyate Prakasha Varanam. Big breath here, and then slowly draw your hands back to your heart, palm to palm. Take a moment for whatever you feel grateful for in this moment to state it to yourself. And carry that gratitude with you as you move out into your day. Namaste.